administration of a single bond. A single bond being that with one bond, you can then transit through the continent. You can go from Cape Town in South Africa all the way to Cairo under that one single bond, saving costs, saving administrative and bureaucratic delays, and ensuring that the goods at least have a good landing cost when they get to their destination. So that's what the AfCFTA single bond actually is. That is why we are here today. We are here to discuss what the next steps are, what we have achieved within the AfCFTA in collaboration with Afreximbank is that we have the regulation in place with its appendices. What we then need to do now is to discuss how do we roll out, under what platform do we roll out, how do we then ensure that goods begin to transit through the continent under the AfCFTA transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mita. And je voudrais vous poser la première question. Ah, OK. Madame Demita, donc, pourquoi le mécanisme de garantie du cautionnement unique de la ZLECAf constitue-t-il un levier essentiel pour le commerce intra-africain dans le cadre de la ZLECAf?
Thank you very much. I've already alluded to its importance. It will save costs, first and foremost. One of the reasons why we don't trade much with ourselves is the costs. And some of these costs is not really just from the tariffs, it's actually from the additional costs, administrative costs that are involved in the movement of goods. And transit will be one of them. Imagine a situation where you're going to transit through 5 countries, you're going to post a bond at every country, and before the bonds get acquitted, the administrative delays that will be involved, the financial implication of then the time it takes for the bonds to be acquitted. And by the time you add all these costs, one thing you must know is that costs are transferred by those who incur the costs to consumers. So we all pay for it. And then we get a situation where then the goods traded within Africa are expensive, because that's what we say. The goods are more expensive than the goods we import from elsewhere. And then this would address some of those additional costs that then add to the cost of goods. And those who do business know that time is money. That's what they say. And so if time is money and you're being delayed, because if you have to stop and post a bond before you cross a particular country, it will take time. And that time actually amounts to more costs for you. Imagine having to stop at a border post for 1 additional week because there is something about acquittal, there is something about the bond, there is some administrative processes that you then have to overtake. So I would summarize it as saving on costs and saving on time. Both are money. Thank you.
Merci, Madame Demita. J'invite maintenant une question pour le représentant de la COMESA à répondre à une question. Donc, il nous expliquera un peu comment fonctionne ce système au niveau de la communauté économique, le CER, la COMESA. Donc, quelles sont les leçons pratiques qu'on peut tirer du cautionnement douanier régional de la COMESA?
Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Chris Hakiza, program coordinator for the Regional Customs Transit Guarantee Scheme at the COMESA Secretariat. I'll probably start by saying that it is a requirement in almost all African countries that anyone who wishes to import goods into the country deposits cash or an insurance bond or a bank guarantee as a customs security to cover any duties and taxes should those goods short land or are diverted into home consumption before clearance, final clearance. This does not only become a burden to the freight operators and traders in terms of costs, but it also ties up huge monetary and financial assets as collaterals, because an importer is required to pay, to deposit a bond in each and every transiting country. So that becomes costly. It ties up huge sums of money and financial assets. It also results into longer vehicle turnaround as well as transit time. So all those delays, as Demeter mentioned, become a burden to the importers. To address these challenges, COMESA introduced Regional Customs Transit Guarantee Scheme, which is abbreviated as RCTG. This was introduced in line with the COMESA Treaty, Article 4 of the COMESA Treaty, as well as Protocol on Transit, Trade, and Transit Facilities, which is an annex to the COMESA Treaty. This bond was introduced in 1990, but it became operational in 2011 due to the delays were caused by limited number of countries that ratified the RCTG agreement. It is currently operational in 13 countries. Rather, the membership, there are 13 member countries, as well as AfCFTA Bank as a regional guarantor. It is operational in the northern and central corridor. COMESA chose to implement the RCTG on corridor basis to allow the other corridors to get prepared. So currently, it is operational in the northern and central corridor. The other corridors are finalizing preparations. In terms of the administration, there are national sureties. There is a national surety in every country to manage the operations in collaboration with the customs administrations. Let me mention a few unique features of the RCTG bond. One is that bond issued in one country is recognized in other countries. Premium rate, the premium rate charged is fixed at regional level. So if you take an example of one corridor, not every country will, all the countries in the corridor will implement one premium rate. All the customs systems are integrated. They can speak to one another. There is a common customs declaration. So the operationalization of the RCTG has got rid of multiple bonds as well as multiple declarations. In terms of computation of the guarantee amount, the system considers the highest guarantee amount within the transit corridor. But when there is a claim, if there is transit diversion, the customs administration in which that claim has occurred computes duty and taxes in accordance with the customs legislation of that country. In terms of claims handling, claims are handled just in a similar way like claims under national bonds are handled. The only unique factor is that the RCTG has got the reinsurance pool. The reinsurance pool is managed by ZEPRI. The reinsurance pool provides reinsurance cover for the duties and taxes. And whenever there is a claim, the reinsurance pool comes in to cover a portion of that claim. I want to point out that the key importance of the reinsurance pool is to ensure that customs administrations do not lose duty. In case the clearing agent, the principal, goes missing, the reinsurance pool will settle. For the case of the COMESA bond, the reinsurance pool will settle 70% of the duty, whereas the bond guarantor covers 30%. So just to answer the question posed to me, what can AfCFTA learn from this COMESA bond? Maybe before I answer that question, I want to point out that AfCFTA is working with COMESA to build on what COMESA has in place. So we have reached an advanced stage, and COMESA will provide support in developing the AfCFTA bond. This is also in collaboration with Afrexim Bank. So one of the lessons that AfCFTA can learn from the COMESA is that there is always misconception by the small and medium enterprises that single bond is for the multinational companies. That is a misconception, as I've just mentioned. Currently, in countries where COMESA is operationalizing the RCTG bond, 80% of the clearing and forwarding agents are small and medium enterprises. The other thing is that there are infrastructural challenges in some countries where power and connectivity are either inadequate or lacking. That is something that AfCFTA should get prepared for. The other one is customs bond is a credit facility. It's not an insurance. So principals or bondholders tend to ignore, they tend to think that when they pay premiums, they are done. Whenever there is a claim, they should not come in. That is not true. Being a credit facility, they should be liable to any claims that may be lodged by the customs administrations. Then the other one is about automation. Automation is a key factor in implementing a single bond. The systems should be able to talk to one another. And of course, government goodwill. There should be government goodwill in terms of implementing this single bond. And of course, regular sensitization of the key stakeholders. I think I can stop here for the time being. Thank you.
Merci Monsieur Azikiza. Donc de vos explications. Donc nous passons à la douane du Nigeria. Donc j'invite Monsieur Isiako, contrôleur général, contrôleur plutôt de la facilitation des échanges, pour nous partager l'expérience acquise au niveau national en matière de gestion du transit. Monsieur Isayako, donc je voudrais, si vous avez une petite présentation à faire, sinon je vous poserai après la question. Donc, quelles leçons avez-vous tirées des systèmes de garantie de transit nationaux ou régionaux existants au Nigeria qui pourraient éclairer le mécanisme continental de garantie du cautionnement unique?
Let me make a little presentation on how we operate first. Good morning all. Nigeria is a pivotal transit country for our landlocked neighbors. Nigeria is surrounded by some landlocked countries that doesn't have access to the sea. So a lot of cargoes meant for these countries pass through Nigeria. For example, Chad, Niger, Cameroon, up to Central Africa. So we play an important role in the transit of cargoes meant for these countries. So we all know Nigeria is a big country, and we have a robust plan of trade facilitation through modernization. We have what we call an ambitious modernization project, which is a 20-year project and involves about $3.2 billion within the 20-year project period. Part of it involves the deployment of what is called a UCMS, that is a Unified Customs Management System, which automates clearing process end to end. We codename it Odogu, which is a local language for Madam Demeter is smiling because it is from her tribe. Odogu, B stands for border. Odogu is an Igbo word for strength. So we are not talking about a system that is strong enough to withstand the test of time. So that is Odogu. Then we have again ECTS, which is Electronic Cargo Transit Scheme. Then we have another one called Automated Transit System. All these ones are just part of the innovations meant to modernize trade generally in Nigeria. So back to your question, Madam. Currently, we are using the national transit system. It is dual in the sense that part of it is automated and part is manual. How does it work? It works by generating an electronic transaction, electronic declaration from the point of arrival, that is point of entry, which will be used up to the exit point. But one of the requirements is a bank bond. We don't honor transit bond. Insurance bond. For transit purposes, there must be a bank bond from one of the authorized dealer banks. ADBs, as we call them, are banks that are allowed for traders to process custom duty. So the trader or his agent is at liberty to go to any of these banks, obtain a bond commensurate with the amount of duty or taxes payable. The essence of this is guarantee in case of default or diversion. So this bond is attached to the declaration, the electronic declaration, but then we still have physical escort. That is custom officers who will escort the cargo across from the entry point to the exit point. Now, that bond, like I said, is attached to the declaration, and the cargo is going to be under seal, escorted up to the exit point. Now, immediately you reach the exit point, the declaration will be processed as having arrived at the exit point. Now, the customs officers of the border will now hand over to the other country, that is the border country. So at that point, we do what is called tag departed. Now, once the cargo is tag departed, the bond is automatically discharged. So the trader or his representative can now move back, or through his officials can go and discharge the bond. It is automatically discharged by the system. It's automatically discharged by the system, so the transaction is concluded. That is what is obtainable as of today.
Merci, Monsieur Isiako. Maintenant, on passe au prochain panéliste. Donc, j'invite Monsieur Aïd El-Habsa, directeur de la législation, de la réglementation et des régimes douaniers, à nous partager l'expérience acquise au niveau national en matière de gestion du transit.
Merci, Madame. Tout d'abord, je voudrais souhaiter la bienvenue à nos invités et à l'ensemble des participants dans cet atelier. Je suis aussi donc très ravi de partager l'expérience de la douane algérienne concernant le transit. Vous savez très bien que le transit est un régime douanier économique très important et c'est un levier pour la promotion des échanges entre les pays, et donc les États membres sont invités donc à prendre toutes les mesures nécessaires pour faciliter les échanges et aussi pour faciliter les formalités douanières en matière de transit. La douane algérienne, donc, à l'instar des douanes au monde, donc, travaille pour deux objectifs, et il essaye donc de concilier deux objectifs, a priori contradictoires. Le premier objectif, c'est le contrôle, donc c'est la vocation initiale des services des douanes et la mission traditionnelle des services des douanes. Et le deuxième objectif, c'est les facilitations, et ça c'est la mission moderne des services des douanes, et ce à travers l'ensemble des mécanismes et des facilitations accordées aux opérateurs économiques. Donc, en matière de transit, il y a également donc, plusieurs avancées. et plusieurs procédures de facilitation qui ont été adoptées par l'Algérie. L'Algérie, vous savez très bien, qui a ratifié pratiquement l'ensemble des instruments universels en matière de transit. Donc, on a ratifié la convention de Kyoto révisée, la convention également de la convention d'Istanbul en matière donc, de l'admission temporaire et de transit, donc la convention TIR. Donc, on a, sur le plan juridique, on a donc un instrument juridique qui couvre largement ce régime et on essaie donc d'harmoniser nos procédures pour donc avoir une application uniforme des dispositions douanières concernant ce régime.
Merci, M. Habsa. Je vous poserai une question quand même. Donc, comment les douanes algériennes gèrent-elles les risques liés à la fraude et à la diversion de marchandises en transit tout en facilitant le commerce? Comment est-ce que opérationnellement
Voilà, j'ai dit que cette mission elle est très complexe et très difficile. C'est comment concilier entre contrôle et facilitation. Mais quand même, donc, on doit travailler d'arrache-pied pour arriver à concilier entre ces deux objectifs. Pour revenir donc au risque, donc, je voudrais rappeler la définition du régime de transit. Donc, le transit est un régime douanier permettant le transport et la circulation des marchandises d'un point A à un point B dans le territoire douanier ou à travers le territoire douanier en suspension des droits et taxes et des prohibitions à caractère économique. Donc, lorsqu'on dit suspension des droits et taxes, donc il y a un risque fiscal, donc un risque financier. Donc, on doit mettre en place des mécanismes pour faire face à ce risque et pour contourner ce risque. Et lorsqu'on dit également prohibition, suspension des prohibitions à caractère économique, ça implique également des risques, un risque économique, un risque sécuritaire, un risque aussi sur la santé et la sécurité du citoyen, un risque environnemental. Donc tout ça mérite donc de mettre en place des mécanismes pour gérer ces risques. En commençant par la première opération en matière de transit, c'est le traitement anticipé des déclarations. Donc on doit, l'Algérie dispose d'un système de gestion des risques permettant donc d'analyser les cargaisons avant même l'arrivée de la marchandise. Donc à ce moment-là déjà, on doit mettre en place des mécanismes pour identifier le risque et gérer ce risque. La deuxième étape, donc, c'est au moment de débarquement de la marchandise. Donc, il y a pratiquement un passage systématique donc, de ces marchandises au contrôle non intrusif, un contrôle par scanner. Et généralement, c'est un contrôle qui se fait donc, au pied du navire. Donc, ça, c'est pour maîtriser le risque sûreté beaucoup plus. Donc, une fois la marchandise débarquée, donc en fonction de la marchandise, il y a éventuellement la possibilité donc, de soumettre cette marchandise à un contrôle physique dans le cas où il y a des soupçons en matière donc, de contrôle. Il y a également, pour contourner ce risque financier, il y a cette obligation donc, de soumettre l'ensemble des opérations de transit à un cautionnement. Donc on doit mettre en place donc, un système de cautionnement. Donc il y a un système de cautionnement qui est mis en place. Et donc je pense que cette journée et ce séminaire donc, il va nous donner donc, plus de détails concernant la garantie générale qui va permettre donc, de faciliter les échanges entre les pays africains. Mais pour l'expérience algérienne, donc, on a un système de cautionnement qui est basé sur l'application d'un taux qui n'est pas très élevé. Donc on applique un taux de 10% des droits et taxes suspendus, donc ce qui est conforme aux normes internationales en matière donc, de cautionnement. Donc on exige une caution bancaire qui doit être déposée par le bénéficiaire du régime avant d'accorder l'opération de transit. Donc pour alléger cette obligation, il y a plusieurs facilitations à ce stade qui ont été accordées et qui sont prévues par la législation nationale. Donc c'est la possibilité de remplacer cette caution occasionnelle par une soumission générale applicable pour plusieurs opérations. Donc ça, c'est une facilité qui est accordée pour les opérateurs qui effectuent des opérations répétitives. Donc ils peuvent bénéficier de cette facilité, donc à savoir la souscription d'une soumission générale garantie valable pour plusieurs opérations et aussi valable pendant une année. Donc il y a aussi la possibilité de remplacer cette caution par une consignation des 10% des droits et taxes exigibles. Il y a également, pour certains organismes, on a instauré donc la caution morale. Donc c'est pour les opérateurs donc, qui sont reconnus. Également pour certains opérateurs économiques agréés qui peuvent bénéficier également des facilitations par rapport à ce point. Donc, pour le risque également donc, de la circulation, donc, il y a la nécessité de mettre en place donc, le scellement douanier, c'est pour sécuriser le transfert. Donc, la plupart des marchandises en transit ils sont donc, soumises à un scellement douanier, il y a un contrôle. Il y a également le suivi et l'échange d'informations entre le bureau de départ et le bureau de destination et la fixation de l'itinéraire de transit et également le délai de transit. Il y a également la mise en place d'un système de géolocalisation des marchandises et des conteneurs et des moyens de transport pour exactement avoir une idée sur l'acheminement des marchandises. Donc tout ça, c'est des mécanismes qui sont mis en place pour faire face donc, au risque de transit et aussi à certaines pratiques. Il y a également parmi les mesures aussi pour sécuriser le transfert de ces marchandises, on a adopté aussi un système très donc dur en matière donc d'infraction et on inflige donc des pénalités très lourdes également en cas de soustraction des marchandises sur douane. Donc tout ça donc c'est pour sécuriser et pour permettre donc la mise en place d'un système efficace pour le transit. Bien sûr, en parallèle à ces mécanismes en matière de gestion des risques, il y a également des facilitations qui ont été accordées. Donc on a un système d'information qui permet également la souscription des déclarations avant même l'arrivée de la marchandise. On a un système aussi qui assure aussi un échange d'informations entre l'ensemble des intervenants dans la chaîne logistique. Il y a aussi un système d'information qui permet également donc d'assurer donc un suivi de ces marchandises en temps réel. Donc tout ça, c'est également des facilitations pour toujours essayer donc de concilier toujours entre ces deux objectifs, à savoir contrôler et facilitation.
Merci, Monsieur Habsa. Donc, nous passons au prochain panéliste. J'invite Monsieur Dr Guémor Zanamoué à nous présenter un peu, à nous expliquer le mécanisme de garantie financière. Après, on passera aux questions.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator, and good morning to everybody. I think this is a very important and exciting session for AfCFTA because I recall when we started this almost about 8 years ago, we didn't know that we will be sitting with colleagues here talking about the practical product that we are already implementing. As my brother Chris highlighted, they also started long back, but it's been a very long journey. And from AfCFTA, we are a bank, we focus on giving loans. And some people were asking, why are we involved in transit? The reason is very simple. When you look at intra-African trade, it's very low. And one of the reasons why it is low is because of these transportation and transit costs. So we looked at a particular example. I will not mention the company to protect the guilty and the innocent, but it was a case of moving goods from West Africa, from one end, transiting through 3 countries, all the way from Lagos to Abidjan. And we calculated that out of every dollar, this company was losing almost about 60 cents per dollar because of transit costs. Then you add the other challenges that are faced with the poor roads. We realized that the money, the loans that we're giving to the business people was going into a bottomless pit. And for us, we actually said it had to stop. That is how we found ourselves getting involved in transit. We started by collaborating with COMESA. We joined the COMESA RCTG. We are a member of the scheme as a regional guarantor. And what we always have been saying is that we come in not to displace the insurance companies or local banks, but we come in to give them the capacity to be able to issue more bonds at affordable costs. Our main objective is to ensure that we've got efficient and effective transit system that will actually reduce the costs. So we are now working with COMESA under the RCTG scheme, as well as ZEPRE. Our brother is there. You'll speak more about that, to ensure that we implement effective transit guarantee schemes. One of the reasons that actually motivated us was that when we looked at the very first decision that was made by our founding fathers, when they met in 1963 in May in Addis Ababa, they talked about establishing, of course, a continental trade phase. That's why you are all here. But the other issue was the establishment of efficient transit systems. At AfCFTA, we said that we cannot wait. It was almost, when we were reviewing it, more than 60 years before what our founding fathers asked us to do was implemented, and we said it's not right. So we had to take on the challenge and develop what we call the African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme, which is the basis in which we are now supporting COMESA, and we are already implementing that scheme in the COMESA region, especially in East African community. We have already approved a 300 million facility, which is already being utilized through our partner ZEPRE. We entered into a treaty arrangement with ZEPRE. ZEPRE is now our key operator on the ground, working with other national sureties. So we are already on course to fully utilize that 300 million facility, and if there are any people who need transit bonds, the bonds are now available at very affordable rates and in line with the range that has been recommended by COMESA. So the product is now live, it's working. We have seen transit actually taking place in EAC. And another equally important thing that I want to highlight from a banking perspective is the importance of technology, especially the regional electronic cargo tracking system that Bismarck will probably talk about. That was, for us as a bank, a key tool that can mitigate the risk, that allowed us to be able to come in, because we are not coming in to lose money, but we want to facilitate. We are not using it as a revenue generating product, but we just want to make sure that goods move throughout the continent. And I'm sure my brother from Nigeria will agree with me that if a regional electronic cargo tracking system is implemented properly with a seal, you may not need physical escorts, and that will also help to reduce the cost. At the end of the day, The reason why we are doing this transit is to reduce the cost. When you look at developed countries in Europe, the costs are much less than what we have. And what does that mean for an industry that is trying to produce, let's say, the automotive sector? Speed and time is very important. The component manufacturers, that is why some of the countries are not even able to develop competitiveness in the automotive sector, because if you don't address these customs challenges, the transit, you are actually making your country uncompetitive. So that's why we are coming in as AfCFTA. We are using our financial muscle to break the barriers. We are using the technology to break the barriers. And we've partnered now with the AfCFTA Secretariat to build on the things that we've been doing with COMESA, with Bismart, with ZEPRE, to put in place a continental transit system. We are now working on the technology platform, and we will also build on what COMESA has already done. As Demeter highlighted, the regulatory framework has been approved. We are now on course to putting in place a continental system that will make the AfCFTA a reality. And the calculations that we did, it was actually very conservative, but we estimated that if the transit guarantee scheme is implemented at the continental level, the Cape to Cairo that Demeter talked about, or if you want maybe the Algiers to Walvis Bay, we can reduce or cut the costs. I think right now it's about $300 million that we are losing by having an inefficient transit system. So we can actually save minimum of 300 million to almost $1 billion by implementing a transit system working together. So I would like to encourage all of you who are here and those that are listening online to come to AfCFTA. We have the tools that can actually facilitate transit for you. AfCFTA, AfCFTA, and our other partners, we have understood the challenge. We have developed the solutions that are fit for purpose, and we are happy to help you. SMEs, as my brother highlighted, are always afraid, but at AfCFTA, we are actually prioritizing the SMEs to ensure that they access bonds. Thank you.
Merci, Dr Guémor. Donc, je vois que vous répondez à la question de comment est-ce que ce système de la garantie unique, comment est-ce que la banque AfCFTA perçoit son rôle dans le soutien au mécanisme de garantie de cautionnement unique de la ZLECAf afin d'en assurer la durabilité financière. Donc, je crois que vous répondez un peu à la question, sauf si vous avez quelque chose à rajouter. Sinon, on passe au prochain panéliste. D'accord. Merci, Dr Guémor. Donc, nous passons à M. Benjamin Kamanga, directeur exécutif du Fonds d'assurance, pour nous présenter un peu les aspects pratiques de la mise en œuvre du régime de la garantie unique du transit. Et après, on passera aux questions. Je vous remercie. Allez-y, monsieur.
Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Like you have been told, I work with ZEPRE. Hello? Yeah, like you've been told, I work for ZEPRE. Hello, you can hear me? Okay. You can hear me? Okay, yeah, I guess now you can hear me. Okay. So, like you've been told, I work for ZEPRE, and for those who don't know ZEPRE, ZEPRE is a French acronym for Preferential Trade Area. At the time when ZEPRE was formed, then the COMESA was Preferential Trade Area. So essentially, that tells you our roots is COMESA. And Chris has introduced you the RSTG. So ZEPRI is our insurance company, but in addition to that, we have a mandate in Comesa region to manage pools. And I will just explain what a pool system is. We run a pool called Comesa Yellow Card. A Comesa Yellow Card enables trucks to travel across the region, now these days, across the Eastern and Southern Africa, with a third-party cover without buying cover in each and every country. So, in addition to talking of goods, we know those goods will be moving in a truck. So we already currently have a product which takes care of the movement of the vehicle itself. Chris introduced to you what is RSTG, and our role essentially is to manage the pool. Why the pool? Like you hear, you are told for you to be allowed by customs to transit goods without paying the duty, you either have to put a cash deposit, you have to walk to a bank and get a bank guarantee, and you know what it means when you talk of bank guarantee, there must be cash cover. All those products very expensive. So insurance is a last resort, which we think is the more meaningful, cheaper way of enabling goods to move across using a guarantee. And that's where we come on board. Now, for the customs authorities to be comfortable, they need a guarantee issued by a regulated entity, which are the insurance companies, and within their capacity limit. Now, the exposures of goods in transit is very high. In the event of one loss, that's a massive amount of money. So we thought, or it was thought at the time, putting together a pool enables countries or several insurance companies to be put together, several sureties or to come together and share the risk. It's a pool. And that is how we run the RSTG. Essentially, like Chris said, the local insurance companies carry, or the surety carries 30%, remits 70% of the premium to a pool, and that pool security is given by many other people, including AfCFTA. You have heard they give us a facility of 300 million, which is meant to be $1 billion. So the meter, we have the capacity to deliver. We are not going to look for capacity to guarantee trade moving across. So essentially that is what it is. We manage the pool. We make sure that when a loss occurs, there is money ready to pay the revenue authority. Because the revenue authority is assured that the person giving the guarantee has the financial strength, because it's a regulated entity. It is an insurance company. It's an insurance company. Then they will be able to allow the goods to move across. I think, I know insurance is very complex. I hope I've tried to make it in simple language. I can take your question, moderator.
Merci, Monsieur Kamanga. Donc, comment est-ce que les cadres nationaux d'assurance peuvent-ils être alignés pour assurer la bonne mise en œuvre du régime dans les différents pays? Comment est-ce que les cadres nationaux d'assurance peuvent-ils être alignés pour assurer la bonne mise en œuvre du régime dans les différents pays? Comment est-ce que vous pouvez mobiliser l'ensemble de vos cadres nationaux au niveau de l'ensemble des pays pour assurer la bonne application, la bonne mise en œuvre du régime dans les différents pays, notamment ceux de la ZLECAf?
So I think there are some two critical fundamental issues, and I think I spoke to them in my introduction. which is the fact that insurance is a regulated business. There is a commissioner of insurance in every of those countries. Insurance companies are giving a guarantee. They are saying, I have ability to pay a claim. So it means for customs to be comfortable to allow an insurance company to issue a guarantee, the customs authority in that country, in that region, must be sure that this entity is regulated and been accepted by the regulator to have ability to pay the claim up to the limit which they sign. So essentially what we do is we sign treaties with the insurance companies, and those insurance companies must submit that treaty to the regulator. And the regulator must then confirm that that insurance company is capable to pay claims up to the said limit. So the framework essentially is the regulators must be involved. So in addition to the RSTG, we are currently also now managing the EAC bond guarantee. And the regulators of East Africa had to meet and approve the product, approve the risk sharing arrangements, so that then they are assured the revenue authorities in that jurisdiction are not likely to lose money because an liquid insurance company issued a guarantee beyond its capacity to pay. So that is the framework. You must have the customs or revenue authorities in place. The regulators must approve the products, must approve the sureties to know that that insurance company has capability to pay claims within the limits of the goods. And ZEPRI organizes a pool and manages it, and then places the risk with other regional sureties like AfCFTA.
Merci, Monsieur Kamanga, pour vos explications. Nous passons maintenant au Monsieur Stéphane Pang, directeur général, qui, je précise, est une compagnie qui propose des solutions technologiques, pour nous présenter un peu cette solution technologique et après on passera aux questions. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So thank you for coming to this session. So my name is Steven Tiang. I'm from Malaysia. So we are currently the solution provider technology enabler for AfCFTA and also EAC Secretariat. So all the regional partners in EAC are using the same common electronic cargo tracking system, which is provided by us. Therefore, they are enabled to mitigate the risk, or we call it in-transit irregularity. Okay, so with the risk have been reducing, so the guarantor like ZEPRI and AfCFTA now can reduce their premium, so that now the trade can be facilitated. Instead of having a premium of, let's say, 1%, now it can be reduced maybe to half and so on and so forth. Why? Because we enable the transit invisibility. Okay, we reduce the time of the transit so that the driver do not stop their car at any place. So the transit time we have managed to reduce by 50%. Okay, and then the cost for the transit also will reduce. Why? Because in the border, instead of they stop changing the custom bond, now they can transit as a green lane throughout. Okay? So in order to better manage the transit bond, what we do is that we also, because we know for the transporter, they are the major problem for the transit. So we put in the video surveillance onto the vehicle so that now the custom and the insurance company have the real-time visibility to decide, okay, is this transporter or is this carrying agent should have a better rate or lower rate, okay? On top of that, okay, what we do is that we also will enable the, we call it bond activation and retirement, okay, which is the biggest problem for all the CFA. Because if the bond did not retire, they cannot be reused. Okay, and that increased the cost as they had to acquire more bond. Okay, so by automate this process, whenever the seal is activated, okay, whenever the seal have been deactivated, when they exit or when they arrive the designated country, when the tax is paid, then the bond automatically deactivate. Okay, this will reduce a lot of paperwork. Okay, the CFA no longer have to chase for the paperwork and then return back to the custom officer in order for them to resume or replenish their what I call bond. Okay, so these have able to at least cut away 70% of the COI inefficiency on the operation. Okay, so this is what we do to help the single bond for the continent. As long as we all can have the same view, same what I call data, then it will be easier for everyone to accept, okay, the data that's shared across not only one country. Every single country will have the same data, will able to see the same what I call transit cargo, will have the same visibility either by the GPS point or video surveillance. Okay, this is very important. On top of that, we also monitor the driver, in fact, because driver is always the troublemaker. They are the lowest income and they are the easiest one to compromise. So all these drivers will be now recorded, okay, in the system of custom regulator, okay, the authority. So now, if anyone have done something that is not right, okay, we can blacklist them. So even they go to other countries, as long as their name or their ID is appealed, they are not able to take any cargo. Okay, so this is what we can do to enable what I call the risk mitigation. Of course, the automation of the bond issuer, okay, currently is very difficult because as what we can see, the insurance, the CFA had to go to, first thing, the customer will call the insurance, CFA, to say that now you have to buy this much money of bond. Okay, subsequently, the CFA now had to go to the insurance company to negotiate a rate. Okay, then they had to make a payment. And what I call IIA had to now register every single premium that has been issued, so that now this will be valid, okay, when the Revenue Authority wanted to claim back the bond. Okay, what we do is that we create a platform that enables everyone on the same platform. Revenue Authority, Port Authority, CFA, the Custom Carrying Agent, what I call freight station, okay, transporter, okay, including also the bank and the insurance, what I call company. All of them having the same data. One, the what I call the so-called, we call entry is generated automatically, okay, the bond requirement will be triggered. Okay, then the CFA can automate this entire process in seconds. Okay, you no longer have to now waste 2 days, 3 days to waiting for the insurance company or reinsurance company to approve your bond. Everything is automated. It can be done within a second, just a click. So including payment. Okay, when the payment comes in, it will be distributed to all the necessary stakeholders, the bank, the what I call admin, okay, including the guarantor, intermediary, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Tang. Je vois aussi que vous répondez à la question. Donc, ce système informatique numérique qui permet de faciliter et puis permet une transparence déjà dans la procédure. Donc, sauf si vous avez quelque chose à rajouter concernant les risques atténués dans le cadre de ce système.
Okay, we have been solving a few problems. The first problem for the insurance company, okay, there's a lot of fake, what I call coverage, we call it cover, that issued by insurance company, which have not been recognized or have not been approved. Okay, so which will result that whenever there's any default, okay, the insurance are not able to pay the claim because the so-called the cover is not valid. Okay, we resolve that. So the second one, okay, when you talk about across multiple countries, okay, they need to have a synchronized, okay, or we call it visibility. Are you really issue a bond from this country? Is this bond valid? What is the amount? Is the amount really cover the bond value that required by the country? You see, different countries have different tariff. Okay, certain cargo in this country is 10%, the other country is 20%, or and so on and so forth. Okay, this is very important that you have, okay, the true visibility. You know how much bond that you are issuing. Okay, whether the country say that no, to across A, B, C, D, E country, this is the bond value that you're supposed to purchase, not the what I call lowest one. Okay, because as far as revenue is concerned, he had to protect the country revenue, the tax revenue. So they need to make sure that now the bond that issue across all these countries must be meeting, okay, the highest what I call bond value that required by any of the what I call revenue authority. Okay, so besides that, I think one other thing that we come up with the EAC Secretariat is that we are actually looking for to provide the sustainability plan, okay, via the what I call bond scheme. So instead of the revenue authority to pay for all this what I call monitoring, now let the guarantor, okay, be part of the guy that who now contribute to provide, okay, the system, to sustain the system. Okay, so now it will be no more cost to revenue authority to implement the system. Thank you.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur Tang. Madame Demita, je reviens vers vous. Encore une fois, la directrice de l'administration des douanes, donc au niveau de l'ASGCAF. Je vous pose une autre question. Donc, quels sont les rôles attendus des différents acteurs, État partie, CER, administration douanière, institutions financières et secteur privé, pour garantir le succès de la mise en œuvre du mécanisme continental de la garantie unique du transit?
Thank you very much. What we seek to achieve by the single bond is to eliminate what is happening between me and her. You see, there is a transit, the microphone transit, so we want to eliminate such bottlenecks, right? And the question I've been asked is, what then is the role of the stakeholders? So for the AfCFTA, I will start with the AfCFTA Secretariat, for instance. So we are the policy organ. We put the policies out there. We support the implementation of the AfCFTA agreement by then providing tools for member states to utilize to then be able to achieve the goals of the AfCFTA. And then the AfCFTA single bond guarantee system is one of it, to then be able to achieve this cut in time and costs of the movement of goods in transit, and to simplify the customs processes, because it also does simplify the processes. So what do we expect for financial institutions like AfCFTA? I like putting my stuff this way. They should bring the money. So we expect them to be able to put down enough money in terms of guarantee, in terms of enabling the single bond. Because then if you're going to, you heard the explanation from Bismarck, if you're going to provide a bond and the tariffs, the rate of duties across the countries that you're going to be transiting is that much, that bond will factor all of that in. What do we expect from the insurance companies? It's same as we expect from a financial institution like AfCFTA. What do we expect from the freight forwarders, from the clearing agents, from the other institutional stakeholders? Is that there is an uptake of this, because it does simplify the work they do. It does contribute to the creation of more intra-Africa trade, and it does save on time, and it does save on costs. What do I expect as the next steps? Of course, there is still some way to go before we roll out. But what we then I expect is that when it comes to adopting the inter-surety agreement, it's done quickly by our member states. When it comes to setting up the national structure, because this works with a national structure, which is why it is good that we are working with COMESA, that already has countries who have set up the national structure. So it becomes a question of then linking up it up with the AfCFTA transit bond guarantee. I expect then the member states to be able to set up their national structures where it is not there. I also expect then an uptake when we want to roll out. I actually expect countries to step forward and say we want to pilot the AfCFTA single bond guarantee, because we do recognize the value of then having a single bond guarantee in the continent. Thank you.
Merci, Madame Demita. Donc, nous passons maintenant à Monsieur Akiza de la COMESA. Donc, Monsieur Akiza, quelles préparations sont nécessaires pour que les administrations douanières nationales puissent mettre en œuvre le mécanisme de garantie du cautionnement unique de la ZLECAf?
Thank you very much, moderator. As I mentioned in my brief presentation, there is for the AfCFTA single bond to work efficiently, the customs administrations should have their customs IT systems integrated to allow flow of information, exchange of information among the member states. I'll just give an example. If cargo is moving, let's say from Ghana to Ivory Coast, a clearing agent does not need to lodge a declaration in the Ghanaian customs system. And then when the cargo reaches Ivory Coast, the same cargo goes through lodging a declaration in the Ivory Coast system. So ideally, what should happen is that the same declaration that moves cargo from Ghana should be the one to take the cargo up to the final destination. So that's one. Two, a single customs declaration is very important, so that the importer or the freight operator does not have to lodge multiple declarations. What I'm trying to say here is that if AfCFTA is getting rid of multiple bonds, the removal of multiple bonds should move with removal of customs declarations. All that will save costs. The other one, of course, should be sensitization, training of the key stakeholders. And it's not just one training. The trainings should, and sensitization programs should be regular, so that so as to increase the buy-in, the stakeholders buy-in. And of course, apart from the three factors I've mentioned, the issues to do with pre-clearance, mutual recognition of authorized economic operators, all those tools should be in place. I think I have answered the question.
Oui, merci, Monsieur Akiza. Merci, Monsieur Akiza. Je passe maintenant une question à Monsieur Eziyaku du Nigeria. Monsieur Eziyaku, donc, quel type de collaboration attendez-vous avec les institutions financières et les garants pour assurer la crédibilité et la durabilité du mécanisme de la garantie de cautionnement unique?
Thank you, Madam. Like I said earlier, Nigerian Customs Service is in the process of modernization. No meaningful improvement in trade processes can go without modernizing the systems. Now, in recognition of that, the federal government of Nigeria modernized the act which governs the operations of customs in Nigeria. The act we had been using before was outdated because it was enacted in 1958 and with a little modification in 2004. So in 2003, that is 2023, a new act was enacted, which is called the NCS Act of 2023. Now, this act clearly speaks on modernization and adoption of modernization tools like AEOS, my brother has mentioned, advanced ruling, single window, and automation of transit processes. How do you modernize transit process? You have to involve the stakeholders. No custom administrations will forsake revenue. So guarantee of taxes is very, very important. Now, for a single bond to operate efficiently, there must be synergy between all the stakeholders involved. AfCFTA is like the platform. Now, the banks must have the wherewithal and the capacity to provide enough guarantee to custom administrations to ensure that no revenue or tax is lost within the process. And there should be a synergy, understanding between the various custom administrations and the financial institutions that will provide the guarantee. So we need to have an electronic platform, like what ECOWAS has assisted in deploying, the SIGMAT. SIGMAT, like one of the speakers mentioned, is a platform that ensures that declarations are submitted only once, and it is transferred from country A to country B. You don't have to go and do multiple declarations. So there is a sanity in that what was actually declared from the point of departure is what is going to be declared or transferred to the point of either destination or transit points. So that synergy is important between all the custom administrations involved in the transit route and the organization that is going to be issuing the guarantee. So if, for example, AfroExim Bank is going to issue a guarantee from a transaction between Senegal and Nigeria, we need to have a synergy or interconnectivity with all the custom administrations along the corridor so that there will be a single interface. You don't have to be moving from one platform to the other. Just like what SIGMAT is intended to do in the West Africa, we should have something like that at the continental level. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Iziakou. Je m'adresse. Merci, Monsieur Iziakou. Je m'adresse maintenant à Dr Guémor. Donc, Dr Guémor, comment est-ce que l'expérience d'AfrExim Bank en matière de commerce peut-elle être mise à profit pour instaurer la confiance entre les administrations douanières, les banques et le secteur privé dans la mise en œuvre du dit mécanisme? S'il vous plaît.
Well, thank you very much. I think, so AfrExim Bank is your bank. And we have studied and understood the needs of the customs. And it is actually in our own interest as AfCFTA to ensure that you as customs administrations, your revenue is safeguarded. Remember, AfCFTA is owned by you as member states. So it is actually in our interest that you are also sustainable and efficient. And that is why we are coming in to ensure that if there is a genuine claim where the customs have been denied their revenue, we should be able to actually pay quickly, and then we will deal with the problem later. That is what the system seeks to do. But we also, by doing that, we want to do it in such a way that we work in collaboration with other financial institutions, at the local banks, at the national level, as well as the other insurance companies. We want to do it in a collaborative manner, because it's essentially, whether you call it a bank guarantee or a bond, the idea behind transit is to ensure that you pool the risk. By pooling the risk, you are actually now in a better position to be able to deal with the inevitable claims that may come. So we've also seen a trend in the continent whereby not only in the insurance, in the transit bond, but general insurance, whereby we are actually losing a lot as a continent by relying on other institutions outside Africa that are actually coming in to provide some of this support. It's fine, but we are also saying, as African financial institutions, we should be able to find ways of solving our own problems as Africans. As you heard from the president of Algeria, he actually said African solutions to African problems. This is essentially what we are trying to do. That's why we are working with other African financial institutions, other insurance companies within the continent, to ensure that we build a continental pool under the AfCFTA, which will then ensure that there is a robust mechanism for dealing with losses when they come. But the other issue that is very important is that we need to work with all the other stakeholders, like clearing and freight forwarders. These are very important stakeholders that have to be consulted. We need to carry them throughout this system, and these are some of the things that we'll be doing, working with the AfCFTA Secretariat. I also want to highlight one key issue. Sometimes the discussions on transit, I've seen it being just focused on the customs connectivity is very important. We engaged also with SIGMAT. It's a very good platform that they've put in place. But beyond that technology that has been put in place, we need to look at the other infrastructure at the borders. Because you can say, this is the road at the border, this is the road that you are using. If you only have got one lane, then it doesn't help. When you issue a bond, then still the trucks have to queue in one lane. So you need to have dedicated transit lanes, green lights, green routes for transit, to ensure that those that have got a bond will just go through. We are working also with the AfCFTA Secretariat to build one-stop border post, and also ensure that we put the requisite technology information, like what we did at the border between Zimbabwe and South Africa, Beit Bridge. We've automated it, and it's now more efficient. So we tend to look at the transit issue as an ecosystem, addressing all the other issues. But AfCFTA is your bank. Demeter, you want the money, we'll show you the color of the money if you show us where are the rules. Put in place a regulatory framework, put in place the inter-surety agreement. AfCFTA, here's the money. Thank you.
Merci, Dr. Guémard. Monsieur Adel Habsa, donc je m'adresse au directeur de la législation des douanes algériennes. Donc, quelle est, selon vous, la contribution du mécanisme de garantie du cautionnement unique de la ZLECAf à la facilitation du commerce et à l'intégration régionale en Algérie?
Merci, Madame la Monitrice. Donc, c'est très important de mettre en place ce mécanisme de garantie, parce que, comme j'ai dit, c'est un levier de facilitation des transactions et du commerce interafricain. Donc, mes collègues, ils ont mis l'accent sur un point très très important. à savoir donc, la nécessité de la mise en place d'un écosystème et notamment la disponibilité des systèmes d'information et des guichets uniques pour donc, faciliter la mise en place de ce système de garantie. Donc, je voudrais également ajouter un autre point. Donc, c'était la chaîne de garantie universelle. Donc, il doit être également activé pour permettre donc la fluidité des transactions et aussi l'échange d'informations entre les différents intervenants. Donc, je voudrais donc faire le parallèle avec un autre système qui existe et qui est actuellement pratiqué par plusieurs pays. Et parmi ces pays, donc l'Algérie, c'est le système du carnet ATIA. Donc le carnet ATIA également, il est basé sur cette philosophie de garantie et cette notion de garantie. Donc, donc pour le cas de l'Algérie, donc on est signataire de la Convention d'Istanbul et la Convention d'Istanbul donc a prévu également la mise en place de ce système de garantie universelle et l'ensemble des associations émettrices et garantes sont liées à une chaîne de garantie internationale. Donc sur ce plan, donc l'Algérie donc a agréé la Chambre de commerce et de l'industrie comme une association garante et émettrice du carnet ATIA. La Chambre de commerce algérienne, elle est liée également à la chaîne de garantie internationale de la Chambre de commerce internationale. Donc je pense que si on veut mettre en place ce schéma dans le plus bref délai, donc on peut faire le benchmarking et utiliser, donc essayer d'utiliser ces expériences pour donc mettre en place rapidement ce système. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur Habsa. Donc, je passe directement à Monsieur Kamanga, directeur exécutif de la compagnie de réassurance. Donc, Monsieur Kamanga, quelles mesures pourraient être prises pour que le système de garantie unique soit à la fois abordable pour les professionnels et financièrement viable pour les assureurs?
Thank you, moderator. I think the simple answer for me is digitization, technology. I don't know the experience of most of you in dealing with the customs. You can hear? I don't know the experience you have in your respective countries. Many years back, like you can see, I'm my old man. Many years back, the regulatory authority in Kenya had to actually issue instruction that no insurance company is allowed to sign a customs transit guarantee at a point in time. Why? Because of lack of technology, goods will move from Port of Mombasa into Malaba, crossing to Uganda. And because the system was manual, the customs was meant to recognize that the goods are moved in Uganda, but they were not recording. So, obviously, the customs authority makes a claim against the insurance companies, and the insurance companies have to hire somebody to walk to Malaba to actually confirm that actually goods moved to Uganda. So if you look at that mechanism, insurance can't work. So if there's one thing I would recommend we do is digitization. Automated border posts, so that as soon as the vehicle lands and recognizes through technology, the bond expires in that country. The liability expires. That's the first thing. The second thing, because the whole idea is to lower the costs, it is adopting the good technology like the one we're talking about, Bismarck, so that when a genuine claims occurs, we can establish the extent where it happened, where it happened, and we can determine the liability of tax payable, and we pay immediately. So my single answer is, if FCTA wants to make this work, get the right platform, the right technology. Arranging the risk transfer mechanism, lowering the price, it's obvious. But I can guarantee you, if you don't have the right technology, there is nobody who will come on table to underwrite that risk. Because the reality is, it is only affordable and possible to be done if the system works. If it doesn't work, no insurer worth his salt is going to underwrite that risk. So the answer is, get back home in every country, make sure that, one, you have a good border technology, like what we are calling in East Africa called the regional electronic cargo tracking system, so that the goods are known where they are at what point in time. If you don't have that, yeah, I don't have good news for you.
Monsieur Tong.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Est-ce que vous avez entendu la question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So, like what Mr. Benjamin had mentioned, so the digitalization process is important, because when you have digitalized process, everything is traceable. Okay, so this is very important, because end of the day, you need to know where exactly is a problem. Is it genuine or it is fake? Okay, so secondly, okay, you also need to have a surveillance system that can now generate, okay, upon there's any claim who are submitted. Okay, because it will be impossible to send, we call investigator, go to the site. It's nothing much that he can do. This is a after event. What you need is real time. Okay, so not only a GPS point, but a video surveillance is very important, because he tell you exactly that what happened during this time. Okay, so the last one I say, the automation of retirement of bond. Okay, so as long as the bond is not retired, the CFA cannot reduce them. That means he had to buy a new one. That means cost increase. That means the CFA will not go together with you. Okay, so end of the day, all stakeholders must benefit from the entire digitalization process. It is very important, seamlessly with high integrity. Thank you.
Merci Monsieur Tang. Merci Monsieur Tang. Donc, je vous remercie pour ces éclaircissements. Je passe, Dr Guémor, à la dernière question pour vous. Ensuite, on passera à Madame Demita et des questions du public, s'il y en a bien sûr. Donc, Dr Guémor, quel mécanisme les administrations douanières doivent-elles suivre pour réclamer des droits et taxes en cas de fraude constatée sur des marchandises en transit couvertes par la caution unique?
Well, thank you. Our best hope is that we don't get even there. So we are trying to ensure that there's no fraud in the first instance. But we know we are human beings, and when goods are moving from one country, passing through another, somehow there are always those guys who are creative, and sometimes the goods get lost in the transit territory, and there's an issue. So normally, that is why a number of financial institutions and even insurance entities are also concerned about underwriting the bonds, because can they trust these operators? And what mitigants, because in banking we always, when you are assessing credit or any policy that we need to underwrite like bonds, you really need to be aware of the mitigants that you will put in place to address the risk. And one of the biggest risks is goods not leaving the transit country or cases of fraud. So in the event that there is fraud, we first and foremost will try to lean to BSmart. That's our technology partner, and we will try to utilize the technology to prevent that. But in the event that it happens, the bank will investigate, and if it is proven that it's a valid case, we will now commit the process of ensuring that my two brothers from customs are happy first. Then I'll deal with the bad guy later on. And what is very important is to ensure that we've got very clear claims procedures that are respected and adhered to by everybody. Chris outlined those procedures. These are essentially the same procedures that we'll use to deal with a case of fraud. And we will also try to lean more also on the customs administrations, because you will also be having visibility. If we've got these bad apples, we need to immediately remove them from the system to ensure that these things, they do not keep occurring. But I believe that where we are going, we believe that the trade is actually going to be digital. We are actually looking at an ecosystem where goods are not going to be transported, but they are going to be transmitted. We need to rely on the technology platform, use AI, blockchain, to ensure that the movement of goods is seamless, there is no fraud. At AfCFTA, we are going to link the continental technology platform that we are working with the AfCFTA with also our Pan-African payment and settlement system, so that even the payment of the premiums can be done through PAPS, and even the payment of the claims can also be done through PAPS. And we'll also have a robust KYC system through the Mansa digital technology, so that we weed out the bad guys and ensure that in our ecosystem we'll have the good guys. The Mansa will also have what we call an African identifier number, which will ensure that the drivers, if they are also given that number, they are actually going to be known as credible and less risky players. So these are the tools that we put in place to try and mitigate risk, and I believe that a number of financial institutions and insurance companies will find comfort in taking the risk, because technology, from our view, is going to be the game changer. Thank you.
Merci, Dr Guémor. Donc, je reviens vers vous, Madame Demita, pour une dernière question. Donc, quelles sont les principales actions à court terme pour accélérer la mise en œuvre du mécanisme de garantie de cautionnement unique de la ZLECAf? Après, on passera aux questions au public. Je vous remercie, Madame.
Okay, thank you very much, Director of Programs. I would start from the last word that Dr. Genmore dropped. We intend to leverage on technology. We know that technology actually helps us solve the issues that we couldn't solve face to face. You know, so we are going to leverage a lot on technology. We are working on a continental transit platform with AfCFTA. We have actually appreciated the issue of digitization a lot at the AfCFTA, which is why we have the AfCFTA tariffs, for instance, in an e-tariff book, which we also, while we have the rules of origin together with the e-tariff book, because we understand that with you should be able to do things with technology, which is also why we are working on the e-certificate of origin, which is also going to operate through a platform. And we are also working on a framework for interoperability. As a matter of fact, to be able to roll out most of these things, we have been able to agree on a data set by Customs IT, that these are the kind of data they would like to exchange with themselves, which is the beginning of interoperability actually, because if there's no agreement on the data that will be exchanged, then there are always the issues of security that is raised. So in terms of also eliminating the bad guys, I'm actually building on what Gilmore said first. We also have the Smart AfCFTA that has a business directory of businesses that are recognized within the continent. And so all our thoughts actually are geared towards making trade as digital as it can be. By first of all, then making the documents with which you work on trade to be digital, so that you receive things in real time, and then you are able to also address any issues real time. How do we then want to ensure that we quickly achieve this? We are already on our way. Like I talked about the regulatory framework that has been adopted, which actually establishes the AfCFTA single bond guarantee, because that's what is contained in that regulation. The next step for us is then to get the inter-surety agreement adopted. As I'm speaking, I'm appealing to everybody that will then be part of it to actually give it assent as early as possible. We have a couple of sensitizations planned, because then we need to carry all the stakeholders along. Very critical and very fundamental issue. The freight forwarders, the forwarding agents, the logistics operators, the transporters, everybody that is involved within the ecosystem of moving a bond. We are also very conscious, cognizant of the fact that if we just have the customs governance systems linked up, we might not really go far. So that system, the platform will need to have we need to have a system where then the bankers, the insurers, the freight for everybody that has to provide a document that enables the bond is actually it can actually be done digitally. That's actually what we are working on. I heard about the AFC about having a single customs declaration. The AfCFTA actually has a single customs declaration. We are at the point of rollout, because then we had the ministers adopt the AfCFTA transit document as it is captured within the AfCFTA agreement. They adopted it at the 16th Council of Ministers meeting together with the regulation for single bond. We are at the point of then trying to roll out that. We are going to do sensitization in states and try to roll it out and try to also have them meet part of the regulations that then requires the registration of means of transport. We recognize the fact that AEOs should actually be mutual recognition of AEOs, and so we have worked on a guideline for continental AEOs, because an AEO in Rwanda should be an AEO in Nigeria. I mean, if they've done the process and they have accepted them as AEO, and because there is mutual administrative assistance where customs help each other with information, you should then be able to accept AEO in Rwanda, in Nigeria, or elsewhere in the continent. So we are also working on that alongside a couple of things. It's massive what we are working on, because then we have seen our role and then enabling the trade to actually happen in the most efficient and in the most effective way. Thank you.
Merci Madame Demita pour ces éclaircissements. Merci Madame Demita. Merci Madame Demita pour ces éclaircissements. Donc, après ces questions, je m'adresse au public présent. Si vous avez des questions à poser au panel. Oui, monsieur.
Hello, my name is Dr. Budaba. Thank you for all speech. So, my first question is about digitalization. How is the perspective for the next 5 years or maybe 10 years, or the continent will be digitalization for all the product transited, or is still some gaps to be I understood that for one country maybe it's more easy to digitalize the system, but different countries maybe take more times and so on. My question, how is there are some plan to finish there? Or there is some, you start with one country, the next country, and so on and so on, or there is a platform to be distributed for different country and to be used at one time. So this is my first question. Second question to you, Mr. Tang, about your track system. Okay, it looks like a watchdog to refresh the timing and so on. It's a little bit complicated, I can say, because if you have to transit one product from destination A, destination B, destination C, but the destination A is 1,000 kilometers for all three destinations, but one destination A, maybe the infrastructure is much better, so you cannot estimate the time. And then you cannot say this driver has take more time than another one, because another one is not because he's lazy driver, it's more is the problem of the infrastructure. So how you estimate your tracker system? Another question, how you estimate your tracker system if the, for example, the GPS is not working to locate the product? Is there some alternative solution for that? And thanks for yours.
Je pense qu'on procède à question-réponse de préférence.
Thank you for the question. Can everyone hear me? Hello? Okay. So in regard to the system that we have, so it is actually an integrated centralized platform. We have a standard API connect to all different revenue authority. So we have been integrated with the ASCUDA, ICMS, I think from French, then what I call the Korean, Transis. So all the 7 country system was integrated at this moment, including the what I call CATUS and the other what I call port authority system. It's all integrated. Okay. Then how can we know the distance? Hello. Okay. I hope that is better. I will repeat now. So the platform that currently we developed is fully digital and is like a centralized platform. So it is managed by the Secretariat directly. Okay, so we have a standard API that we integrate with different revenue authority from different systems like ASCUDA, ICMS, what I call Transis. So which is in the 8 country of EAC. Okay, including their port system and what I call the IRA system, the banking system. So we have all the standard API that available to be adopted. Okay, in the event of those non-standard API required, we have the resources, okay, locally to continue what I call carry out the integration. This is number 1. Okay, number 2, you're asking about the distance. For every single country, the distance is different. How can we estimate the time? In fact, from Mombasa going to Juba, so the distance is about 2,500 kilometers. 1,000 kilometers is in Kenya, about 1,000 kilometers is in Uganda, and about 500 kilometers in South Sudan. So all this route, because it is a gadgeted route that approved by Revenue Authority, so this route was actually carried out survey by our engineer before we start. We actually physically carry out what I call the test, okay, about the road condition. We have the what I call the surveillance system that to determine how bad, how good is the road. We also have the what I call GPS system to determine where is a black spot, okay, white spot, okay, as well as the what I call cellular system. Okay, so these were able to combine with AI, we are able to estimate the time that required. And also, like what Dr. Gemo had mentioned, so the road, the transit road is long. So you cannot expect the driver to drive non-stop. And for every single country or every single county, there is a speed limit. Okay, even for different cargo. Okay, the white product, the fuel, wet product like fuel. So the speed is about 60 km per hour. Okay, then for the container cargo is 80 km per hour. Okay, then the bus might go to 90 km per hour. So all these are actually you are able to program inside the system. Okay, after you've done the survey. Okay, so it is not an issue, and we have implemented, we are able to estimate how many days. Okay, before we implementing the racks, for example, it takes about 2 weeks from Mombasa to, let's say, Kampala, which is about 1,500 kilometers. Now, it takes only 2 to 3 days. Okay, we eliminate all the illegal stop. Okay, and what we're going to improve now is that we know the distance is far. Every 150 kilometer or 3-hour drive, it is required by road safety requirement that you must have a stop. And we are working together with AfCFTA to build a custom designated stop. So to allow this transit driver to actually stop there to take a rest. He have full, what I call public amenity, custom, what I call station inside there. Also is good to use as a rapid response in the event of any, what I call incident happen on the roadside. Okay, I hope that answers you the second question that you asked about the distance. Then on the third, on the GPS, like I say, GPS technically you'll be working all this while, but there is a different, we call it geolocation system. Okay, GPS is belong to US. Okay, you have the what I call Europe. You also have the Russian, Chinese, and I think the Indian. So we are actually using 3 different, what I call positioning system that we are able to read their satellite and then now convert into a position. So it is very, very unlikely that you can find a GPS black spot unless you go into underground. Okay, even now you go into underground, we call it offline GPS technology that we can store, okay, the what I call the movement of the satellite that we're able to calculate, okay, and give you an estimation that where roughly are you. On top of that, we also have the hybrid, which is the pattern owned by myself, okay, that we are able to do concurrent, we call it hybrid positioning, okay, even without GPS. As long as you have GSM or you have the cellular, I still able to locate you. Okay? Even you come to using a jammer, I still able to watch you. So there's no way that you can run. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Tang. Donc, en raison du timing, merci, Monsieur Tang. Donc, en raison du timing serré, on ne prend que 2 questions. Pour le reste, s'il vous plaît, adressez vos questions au secrétariat de la ZLECAf et ils s'en chargeront pour répondre. Donc, on ne prend que 2 questions, s'il vous plaît. Allez-y, monsieur.
Bonjour tout le monde. I will ask my question in French, please, for my facilities. Donc, je vous remercie pour ce projet important pour la zone. Ma question est simple. Moi, je me présente d'abord. Je suis Dia Etfi, président du groupe ADIN, acteur dans la digitalisation. Nous avons plusieurs filiales en Afrique. Ma question est simple. C'est autour de votre stratégie. Comment, dans le cadre du système de la digitalisation de votre roadmap technologique, tel que ça a été mentionné par Dr Gaynmore et Madame Guyane par rapport à la nécessité, c'est un must aujourd'hui, la digitalisation. Quel est votre, ça c'est le premier point, c'est un must. Et 2, les solutions africaines pour les problèmes africains. Quelle est votre stratégie pour pouvoir utiliser les expériences des sociétés ou des cabinets de digitalisation africains dans leurs expériences peut-être individuelles dans certains pays pour pouvoir avoir une convergence ou une centralisation de ces expériences-là. Et je pense, docteur, mon voisin, il a posé la même question, la première question, qui est dans le même sens, pour pouvoir utiliser en efficacité avec une accélération time to market pour pouvoir atteindre les objectifs de ZLECAf en termes de digitalisation qui est un must. Voilà. Merci beaucoup.
Monsieur Gaynmore.
Well, thank you, my brother. I think those are good questions. I think first, there's no question of whether we need to go digitalization. Or for us at AfCFTA, we have already started implementing this in our bank. We have built what we call the Africa Trade Gateway, which is basically a digital super system with various platforms. We actually believe that the present, not the future, is digital, and we have to work on it, and we are going to apply it across the entire trading ecosystem, including on transit. That is why when the AfCFTA came talking about the digital protocol, we said we are convinced we are already ahead. And when we started talking about a continental technology platform, they requested us to finance. We said this is music to our ears. We believe that we really need to capitalize on technology to ensure that we break the barriers that are affecting intra-African trade. And there was a very practical example that we actually had of a container moving all the way from South Africa to Angola. This is what convinced us about the benefits of digitalization. Just one container, one shipment. We were actually told that there were more than 1,200 signatures that were needed in that container. And then if the container is moving through 3 or 4 countries, you multiply that by 3. And then the number of documentations, they were almost close to 1 million. Just pay. So when you look at the amount of paperwork, this is actually insane. And these are some of the costs that are bringing us down. And we also looked at it. The benefits of digitalization were very obvious and clear to us, because if you look at some of the things that are happening in the area of the cost that we are incurring, initially we used to thought that we don't have the infrastructure, the roads and what have you. But we realized that even in those areas where roads were built, the costs were still high. So we need to focus more on the logistics and using technology. So we will work with the AfCFTA Secretariat and other partners like BSmart, who will bring some technology. But you are right on your second question. We are now also looking at other African companies that are working in this space to see how best we can bring them into this space. During this IATF, we've sponsored, if you go next door, we sponsored what we call the Africa Innovation Hub, where we are bringing young people with very good technology that can be used to facilitate trade, to be able to come in. I mean, people have been talking about Uber for trucks. One truck move, let's say, from South Africa to DRC, and it's full with goods from South Africa. Coming back, the truck is empty because nobody knows the time when that truck is coming back. So we'll be using the digital technology, blockchain, artificial intelligence to ensure that we make trade in the continent seamless. Thank you.
Merci, Dr Guémard. Nous passons à la dernière question, s'il vous plaît.
Okay. Thank you very much for facilitators for giving me this chance. I thank AfCFTA Bank and all collaborators to come up with this innovative approach to solve the African problem. I think if you continue that way, we will be really confident to reach what our forefathers said or planned us to reach on that political and economic integration. Thank you so much. Having said this, I have a very brief question on the concept. As we know, the single bond guarantee and insurance are two different concepts. I don't want to just to go into definitions. Thanks to Zepri, Mr. Kamanga told us this is not guarantee but insurance. Insurance meaning payment will be effected upon claim. That means after qualifying the requirements which has been signed between parties. Okay? The concept of guarantee is a little bit different from that. What I'm trying to just put to your attention is that in this system, as we have been told, we are continuing to cross-border countries with different jurisdictions. Okay? We are also involving different stakeholders with different identities. See? Don't you think that we have to have a kind of binding agreement of partnership between different stakeholders to discharge their responsibility in the way of applying this thing? Otherwise, because of the diversity of those rules in different countries, and also because of the vested interests of different stakeholders, if something happens, resolving this issue by dispute will be very problematic from the legitimacy point of view. So, don't you think that there must be a kind of binding agreement which could be dealt with by continental court or continental rule, or some kind of institutionalization may need? That's how I have a doubt on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. I think you are spot on, and you should be sitting somewhere here and providing solutions with us. So, as Demeter highlighted, so the rules are already being put in place. We have already worked on a regulatory framework that has been adopted by the Council of Trade Ministers. They actually noted what you are raising, that we need to harmonize the rules to ensure that everybody is very clear on how we implement. Whether you call it a bond system or a guarantee system, we need very clear, predictable, transparent rules. This is what will make it comfortable for insurance companies or banks like ourselves to come in and back the transit system. But also, when there are claims, when there are disputes, you also need to ensure that you have a mechanism that will be used to do that. The AfCFTA has got a dispute settlement mechanism that can be actually used to deal with that. But also, when it comes to implementing the transit, another important piece of agreement that is very important is the inter-surety agreement. How we coordinate amongst ourselves as the financial institutions, how we interface with the member states and the customs. That is very important, and the COMESA actually has got a very good template that they are working on, and we are actually trying to build on that to ensure that we pick the key elements and establish an inter-surety agreement at the AfCFTA level. This is what will actually set what we call the rules of the game, to ensure that when there is a claim, people know the rules of the road, and we can actually make it easy and seamless. Thank you.
Merci, Dr. Guémard. Merci, Dr. Guémard. Nous avons...
Okay, sorry, if you allow me, because it is very important then that I build on what Dr. Gilmore has said. And so the AfCFTA already has a regulatory framework. And then you know that the AfCFTA is an umbrella continental organization. So when you begin to talk about then the different rules in the different countries, but then when they sign on to a continental agreement, it then binds all of us. Then the aspect of it that then remains is that then the state parties will then have to see how they then harmonize what previously was practiced to the continental. That is one. Regarding dispute settlement, the CFTA have a robust dispute settlement mechanism. If you go to the regulatory framework, which we have agreed, that regulatory framework then refers you, in case of dispute, to the AfCFTA annex on the rules and the procedures for the settlement of dispute. Because then we work in an ecosystem. They are not necessarily separate. And then thirdly and lastly is then when you talk about the different what he mentioned about the inter-surety agreement. We've already drafted an inter-surety agreement. What is remaining for the inter-surety agreement is then to be passed through the AfCFTA institutional framework, and so that when it gets adopted by the Council of Ministers, it binds everybody together. Thank you.
Merci Madame Demita. Merci Madame Demita. Donc je rappelle pour les autres questions adressées au secrétariat de la ZLECAf. Avant la clôture de ce panel de discussion, je voudrais vous présenter quelques conclusions de ce panel. Donc tout d'abord, il y a essentiellement la volonté du gouvernement, des gouvernements, donc une volonté politique pour l'instauration de ce système au niveau de chaque intervenant, au niveau des pays aussi membres de la ZLECAf. Nous avons un point qui est très important, tous les panélistes en ont parlé, c'est l'interopérabilité, le système d'information qui permettrait de connecter l'ensemble des intervenants pour appliquer une caution unique de la ZLECAf et, in fine, faciliter le transit et le transit des marchandises. Nous avons aussi vu contrôler mais faciliter également. Donc un système de gestion des risques est nécessaire pour contrecarrer à toute fraude éventuelle, que ce soit des chauffeurs ou autres intervenants malveillants. Nous avons aussi le système utilisé au niveau de la COMESA. Je pense que l'ensemble des intervenants des pays voudraient avoir partagé cette expérience avec les autres pays. Comme ça, ce système pourrait être utilisé dans l'ensemble des pays. Donc, on doit tirer les expériences de la COMESA et du carnet ATA, pourquoi pas. Responsabiliser les intervenants, le rôle crucial de la ZLECAf qui a instauré un certain nombre d'outils, notamment le livre du tarif, l'origine électronique qui est en cours, une plateforme en cours, et nous avons le système PAPS. Donc le secrétariat de la ZLECAf fournit énormément d'outils et les travaux sont toujours en cours, notamment pour la validation et l'approbation de la déclaration unique de transit et l'instauration du système, notamment la feuille de route qui concerne essentiellement la caution unique, la garantie unique pour permettre son utilisation dans les différents systèmes. Il y a aussi le rôle des assurances dans ce système qui est crucial pour que les pays qui subissent des dommages aient quand même un retour de droits et taxes. Le système de surveillance transparent, donc je pense avoir balayé une bonne partie des points qu'on a discutés. Donc Madame Demita, un mot de la fin peut-être?
I would just like to thank everyone. Both the panelists and the distinguished participants that are here.
Not yet, not yet.
I will just say one word. That one word is let's go and implement the AfCFTA single bond guarantee. It is beneficial. Thank you.
Merci pour votre attention et j'espère que ce panel de discussion permettra l'application de cette caution unique au niveau continental. Et je vous remercie.
Thank you. Shall we have a group photograph as well? Yes, right in front here, please. I know the guys. Sorry. Photograph with the panelist and the moderator.
Sorry, a quick one, please. Nigeria is ready to be part of the single bond, and we are ready to be part of the, what do you call it? Not the directive, but you have you say part of the 6? We are all part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a group photograph, and right after that, we encourage all of you to remain seated for the next session. AfCFTA digital trade. Does the AfCFTA provide a conducive environment for digital trade? Is the question we're asking right now. It starts right now. Would encourage all of you to be part of this, remain seated. Without knowing much about the digital trade and the protocols that the AfCFTA have put in place, we will be missing out in terms of continental and even global trade. We would therefore encourage all of us remain seated as we prepare for the next session on the AfCFTA digital trade, whether it provides the conducive environment for digital trading on the continent of Africa. We request that wherever you find yourself, whichever pavilion you find yourself, kindly make way to the AfCFTA pavilion and join us for this all-important session, Digital Trade under the AfCFTA. Does it provide the conducive environment you need for your trade on the continent of Africa? It starts right now.